He kōna ipurangi tēnei nā te reo irirangi o Aotearoa.
Record monsoon rainfall in North India over last week has taken on monstrous proportions. Rivers turned into ferocious torrents have devoured life and infrastructure. Hill station landslides...
It's monsoon season, and some northern parts of the Indian subcontinent have seen their heaviest rain in decades.
Trees and roads. This year, the area has experienced 70% more rainfall than average. It was even higher in the state of Punjab, where rescue crews scrambled to help dozens forced to higher ground by multiple overflowing rivers.
We've rescued up to 85 people. Water levels in the morning were 10 to 12 feet, but the flow has since receded.
Deadly floods are nothing new for India. In the past decades, they've claimed approximately 13 to 1,400 lives every year. Climate change is only expected to make things worse. But in Aotearoa, one Indian expatriate is trying to bring the toll from flooding down.
I come from a village called Kalidindi in India. It's quite a small village which has developed now, but back in those days we had severe flooding happening. And then when I grew up, I went around different places in India where they have severe flooding, and I realized what I experience is quite low. Maybe we had flooding for a couple of days, but then what I saw with the people in states like Assam, Gujarat, they're like living in the floods for months straight. Imagine you're just surrounded by water, you don't have a place to use the toilet, and then you'll have mosquitoes and you're feared about snakes all around. It's just a nightmare.
This is Dr. Areez Shaik. He came to Aotearoa in 2018 to study at Massey University, and he spent much of those 5 years working on the project behind his doctoral thesis, creating a new design of life jacket for flood rescue workers at the Indian National Disaster Response Force, the local equivalent of civil defence.
In a general flood, there's a group of emergency responders, 5 to 6 of them. They sit on a life raft or an inflatable boat. They go into the places where it's flooded, and then they bring a couple of people onto the boat, put a life jacket onto them, and then evacuate them to a safer ground.
The Indian National Disaster Response Force currently uses 2 designs of life jacket, which are probably reasonably familiar to most listeners. The first looks a bit like a vest and zips and buckles up at the front. The second is kind of like a big rectangular block with a hole for your head and straps which buckle around your back and between your legs. But both these designs have flaws.
The life jackets they're currently using, they just use one size life jacket, which doesn't fit everyone very well. It's ideally made for an adult male, so it doesn't really fit somebody who is very small or very big. It's also quite long. You know, it's not just about floating in a flood. There's like bending, sitting, rowing. There's a lot of tasks that emergency responders have to do. So these life jackets don't accommodate all those activities.
I mean, did you get a clear feeling from them, from the people you spoke to, that the life jackets they used were just not up to standard?
Yeah, so I met multiple responder teams, some from the south of India, some from the north, some from the middle. They all said the same thing, that they're not very comfortable. Even I brought some samples from them, and I just put them on in my office, and I couldn't even wear them for an hour and then sit in my seat. So imagine they're wearing those jackets, walking in the tropical heat of India. It's very uncomfortable. Even after the rain goes away, there's like a hot climate that happens, and the water is all around, and that's when they go for evacuating. So you need to think, you're wearing the jacket, sitting on a boat and riding it in a tropical heat. So there's a lot of things that you need to consider other than just a buoyancy.
Ultimately, Areez identified 4 key things he needed to fix. 2, he's already mentioned. The need for the life jackets to fit a wider range of body sizes, and second, to be more comfortable for the rescuers to wear while doing their work. The third thing is pretty obvious. It needs to provide enough flotation to keep the wearer's head above water. But the fourth is something you might not think about. A lot of existing life jackets aren't compatible with traditional Indian clothing, especially the designs which feature a strap which goes between your legs.
The feature was installed into life jackets so it doesn't ride up. But then imagine a lot of people in India, especially in the rural and semi-urban areas, they wear traditional garments, both men and women. They wear dhotis and sari, which are like wrapped around the body. So there's no possibility you can put the strap like under your legs, under your crotch, and then fit it. So we had to eliminate that concept and think of another way so it doesn't ride up.
Also, a lot of life jackets are designed with zips and other fastenings which simply aren't used in traditional Indian garments. This might not seem like such a big deal, but in the worst case scenario, an incorrectly fastened life jacket could completely fall off or even hold someone's head underwater. And even if they're worn correctly, the extra minutes spent fumbling with unfamiliar zips, buckles and buttons is time wasted which rescuers could be using to save more people. So Areez's challenge was to create something which solved these issues. A life jacket which fit a wider range of body types, was intuitive to wear and compatible with traditional Indian garments. Areez tried out lots of different designs. He looked at modular designs which could be rapidly adjusted for a wide range of body types, adding and removing flotation, and designs with increased ventilation to keep rescuers from overheating. But ultimately, the design with the most promise was inspired by a garment which is inextricably linked with India.
This idea I got from the Indian sari. So it doesn't have like a center front or center back where you have buttons or zipper. And then what we realized from this idea was that it has the potential to spread across your body and fit to a wider range. So that's when it started. And then we started developing on top of it, combining with, like you see this 3D printed guides here, and then adding a strap, buckle, and then contouring the foam around the body. That's how it evolved. But it initially started with an inspiration from the sari.
We have some pictures and videos of Areez's jacket on the Voices page of the RNZ website if you want to understand how it works. But the key point is that it's made up of two main panels at the front, which can slide over each other, which are then secured in place with a strap of webbing. You basically put one arm through one side and then wrap the rest of the jacket around you, similar to how you'd put on a sari, or kind of like a dressing gown if you're more familiar with that.
The one thing we considered, having that wrapping mechanism around the body, makes them aware that it's closer to their cultural sensitivities, rather than buckling it at the front and zipping up.
Can I have a go at trying it
go
on?
ahead, sure. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is testing your intuitiveness, whether I can just put it on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So, and move around to buckle it up.
Yeah, and then you can tighten it a little bit.
It is like completely different to any jacket,
Yeah.
any type of life jacket I've tried before. Huh.
And do you also feel there's like a contour inside so that
Yeah.
it considers the woman's body shape, their breast can be
Right.
contoured into that foam.
I see what you mean. Yeah. It's easy to breathe in too, because
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
something with life jackets I always
You
found.
feel
is-
like it's pushing onto your chest. And
Yeah. But I guess it's because there's still room on the outside, and there's room for your
Yeah.
chest to go.
Maybe
and you-
try sitting and bending,
Yeah.
and you'll see the
Oh
significant.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because
You don't-
normally when you'd sit down, it like comes
Yeah,
up and
lifts up.
clocks you under the chin. Yeah.
And when you bend forward, there's like a fold that happens around your waist, right? Like there's like two layers of foam that
Yeah.
push onto each other. Yeah.
Huh.
And try rowing. Throw a
Rowing,
action.
so I'm like this.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and that doesn't stop me doing that as well.
Yeah.
Fascinating. All right, let's see your test taking it off again.
Now, I didn't tell Areez this, but I've worn a lot of different designs of life jackets. I did a lot of water sports as a kid. And this life jacket, it maybe wasn't as comfortable and easy to move in as the buoyancy aids which I've used for slightly more active water sports, like whitewater kayaking, where you need to move your arms around a lot. But it was still pretty good, especially when you consider that those buoyancy aids don't have the one-size-fits-all philosophy which was so important for Areez's design.
The best thing is you can just take one jacket, multiple of them, and don't need to worry if it will fit a small person or if it fits somebody of a XXL or XXL.
Areez says his designs are currently under evaluation by the Indian National Disaster Response Force, and he's already in talks with the manufacturer to translate his design into something which can be mass-produced.
So they're figuring out the most economical way, so we are at that position now. Yeah.
So you're pretty sure that this will become a life jacket that will be used by a lot of the Indian civil defence?
Yes, definitely. And so they're the primary ones that I'm targeting, but I feel like it can be something that can be taken by any government in any country, right? So there's a lot of countries that get affected by floods, and they pretty much have similar problem, getting a life jacket that fits multiple sizes and that doesn't obstruct emergency responders.
And that was William Ray bringing us this week's episode of Voices. I'll be back with you next week. My name's Kadambari Raghukumar. Thanks for listening.